You can draw these in Procreate. Today we are drawing these simple leafy branch using this reference as inspiration and turning it into a cozy stylized illustration. I've left a free download in the video description. You can grab my sketch and the color palette. So if you're ready, let's get started. Before we start sketching for real, I want to quickly analyze the reference. What I like to do is create a new layer on top of the reference, and I will just draw directly on the photo for a moment. This is not the final sketch yet, it's more like me studying what I'm looking at. I'm paying attention to a few things: shape of each individual leaf looks like, how the leaves are flowing overall, like the direction and the movement, and which leaves I personally find the most beautiful or the most interesting to draw. If there's a leaf shape or an angle that I really like, I will keep it. And if there are parts where the leaves all look very similar, I might simplify it. So after I make this rough analysis sketch, I will drag it to the side and then I will do a little adjustment. And once the space is clear, how many leaves we want, where they go, what shapes they have, and the overall flow, then I will start sketching more confidently. At this point, I press a bit harder and I use shorter, smaller strokes to draw more accurately. So we're still sketching, but now we are refining the shapes and make them a little more detailed and clean. You can see that while I'm refining this rough sketch, I still use a lot of adjustment tools. For example, I will use the selection tool and the move tool. If there's a part that looks a bit too crowded, I will just select the area I want to reposition and then gently move it to give everything a little more breathing room. And I also use the Liquify tool quite a lot, just to nudge the proportions and the placement a little bit. Nothing dramatic, just small corrections to make the flow feel better. Once that's done, this rough sketch is finished and we can start refining. Quick reminder, I've put my refined line art in the download link below this video, so you can grab it if you want. And I also include the color palette I'm using later. So if you want to draw along with me, that's going to make it really easy. Okay, so for the line art part, I lower the opacity of the rough sketch and keep it underneath. Then on a new layer, I switch to a thinner brush and I start redrawing the leaves. I'm basically following the shapes and proportions we already decided in the rough sketch, but now I'm choosing nicer, cleaner lines, and I'm only keeping the lines that make the drawing look pretty. And to make the line art look better, especially where the two lines overlap or where I want a little emphasis, I will darken those areas. So you will get thin lines, some thicker lines, and even some extra bold parts. That way the line art has clean line weight variation and it just looks more finished and more pleasing. And with that, the line art part is done. Okay, so now we are moving into the coloring part. Before I start coloring for real, I always like to solve one problem first. What colors am I going to use? And the way I do that is by making a small color study first, like a quick little color sketch. I will use the photo as inspiration, but I'm not going to copy the colors exactly. I'm just looking at the reference and then choosing my own color set based on the feeling of it. So you can see the colors I pick here. I have a nice mid-tone green, a brighter light green, and some deeper dark greens. And then just a brown for the stem. Once I paint this little color study and I feel like, okay, these colors look good together, the balance feels nice, then this step is done. Also, just a quick note, this YouTube version of this tutorial is sped up. My real drawing process was about 48 minutes. And the full version is inside my drawing membership. So if you're curious about exactly which brushes I'm using, the step-by-step thinking behind every part, like my logic and decision making, I've put the membership link in the video description and you can unlock the full tutorial there. And next comes the part that's honestly much less brain work. It's a little bit like a coloring book, because now we already know where the colors should go and we also already decided which color to use for each area. So all the thinking steps are basically done. Now we're just filling. So now what I'm doing here is using different layers and I'm filling each leaf shape with different greens we chose, just placing those flat base colors based on the line art. And then inside each leaf color block, I will go in with a slightly darker or slightly lighter version of the same color, and I will draw in the leaf veins, just to give it a bit of texture and structure. After that, we also need some depths between the leaves, so wherever one leaf overlaps another, I will add a little shadow. That makes the layers feel more clear and it helps everything pop. And once we do that, our leaf illustration based on the reference photo is finished. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you have lots of hard finished sketches and want to start finishing your work and join daily life with confidence, my membership link is below.